So, hello, everybody. This is Robin Whitford from Hooking Outside the Lines, and we are doing another interview for Rugspirations today. Welcome. I think this is my 11th guest. So thank you so much, Kay, for joining me. This is Kay Lewis, all the way from Newfoundland. But I met her when she was living in Ottawa. Pre-pandemic. I don't know how many years pre-pandemic, but I remember sitting beside you at a course at Karen Miller's house, I think, working on faces. I think that was my first meeting of you. Anyway, welcome. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I look forward to chatting with you. Would you like to introduce yourself? Where are you coming from today? I know you're by the ocean in Newfoundland, but
I'm coming from a tiny place called Portagrave. There's no store, no gas station, there's nothing. But right now there's a blizzard just blowing in from the north. And I'm glad to be here in my warm room watching you and be talking to you people.
Yeah, I can imagine the wind.
You can't go outside. It's just, and it's getting worse as the day goes along. So,
So you don't have to go anywhere today.
No, I stopped yesterday and got everything I needed in town, and we're ready for the long haul.
That's good. That's good. Well, we'll get right started with our questions, the same ones I asked everybody, but we never know where they will take us. And this is one I have no idea how you started, like who or what got you started into rug hooking or rug making?
Well, I moved to Nova Scotia from, I think we were living in Ontario at the time, I can't remember, in 2006. And I had tried, I knew that I had some art in me, and I had tried everything, sketching, painting, drawing. And the only thing I was good at was wood carving, but that's kind of an awkward thing to do. You need, tools and space, and I got rid of it. So anyway, I arrived in Nova Scotia, and I kept seeing signs, rug hooking, rug hooking. And then there was this sign in a fabric shop in New Minas, and so I thought, well, I'll just pop in there and see. And as a kid, I had done latch hooking, one piece.
Yep, me too.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed that. So I went in, and there was a sign that said, teacher Lynn Denny was available to teach. So I signed up, and I thought, well, I'll see, how that goes. My first one, I've still got it. I still can't tell what it was. Oh man, it was pretty bad. And I'm not a very good student, I'm terrible. Just ask any of the teachers I've taken courses from. I'm always going, I can't do this. Gee, this is terrible. Look, I got to stop. This is no. But anyway, I learned from Lynn Denny, and she taught only in yarn. And then I found that there were groups, hooking groups, and I joined hooking groups. Then I joined the guild, and I became a representative for our area for a few years, and just never looked back. The people you meet when you're hooking is just amazing. You can move anywhere and just find a hooking group, and away you go.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm curious then, if your first piece was so, not
awful.
Well, I didn't want to say awful, but you weren't happy with it. Did you love the process right away, or was it just the people right away that you're like, I'm going to keep doing this for the people?
I think it was both, actually. I found it really, I liked the feeling of the hooking. I just didn't like that I wasn't perfect. I mean, when I took up guitar, I wanted to play it perfectly the first time, not learn over a period of time. So that's why I kept on. But the people also, meeting people, because I knew no one in Nova Scotia. As usual, we move somewhere and don't know a soul. But through hooking, I met everybody.
Wonderful. And when you said about 2006, so have you been hooking ever since?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
do you have a favorite part of the process? Like planning the rug or working on it, finishing it, or like many people, shopping or gathering supplies?
I think planning is my, that and color planning. I love to go through my stash and bring, if I wanted, 3 shades of gray, I haul all my grays out, to make sure that I got them. And I lay them all out, everything that I'm going to need. I put in sections like this, I'm sure everybody does that.
Oh, and, I don't know. I've been watching hookers now at I'm always curious about like how people set up when I go to events or in person. And I'm always curious. Some people don't.
Oh,
they have piles, but not organized piles.
Well, I get them all organized to the colors and the shading that goes, and I will put them in a plastic bag, each one. And so when I start to work on that section, I can just haul all the yarn out of the plastic bag. But that's from being a secretary all my life. I think the organizational idea.
Mm-hmm. And when you're planning your rugs, now I've been fortunate enough to sort of sit beside you a couple of times at the Guild when we were in Ottawa, but people watching might not know. Do you design most of yours, or how do you? So where you're designing?
I have a file on my computer. I bet there's 1,000 pictures of things I want to hook, but when I finish one, instead of using that as a resource, I use something else, because I spot a painting that I love. And so I get hold of whoever painted this and get permission either to paint it or hook it or not hook it. But usually they're pretty good about allowing me to hook it. And I really like hooking from paintings. That there's a chap on Fogo Island in Newfoundland, and a lot of people hook his work because it's so flamboyant, Adam Young. And so I hook a lot of his. And there's a chap in Dublin, an Irishman who does beautiful stuff. I found him under Naive Art, it's called online. And
what's his name, if you don't mind sharing?
George Gallagher.
Gallagher, yeah, okay.
Anyway, and sometimes I do it from photographs that I've taken, but I don't know about designing my own. I guess if you take a photograph and you take it from that's designing your own. But I just really should go back to the ones I've got on the computer and use them up.
Yeah, if you want to get through them all, that's a lot.
Exactly.
Is there something that you've learned through rug hooking that you wish you knew earlier? Like something that would have saved you stress or, frustration over the years?
Yeah, you know what I think it is I was taught all the rules, and the rules drove me nuts. Rules drive me nuts anyway in life. I can't follow the rules in life either, or driving or anything.
Uh-oh.
And that really bothers me, is thinking that I have to, there's these rules that you should follow, and I'm damned if I'll do that. So if I had, when I decided to stop following the rules, it made me relax a lot.
Yeah.
And just hook it. If you wanted to jump over here, jump over there. Just I don't know how to explain it, but you don't want to look at the back of my hookings anymore. They used to be beautiful. Now they're just
That's okay. I don't want people looking at the back of mine either. That's why I put them on canvas often. And you can't, and I think you do the same. You frame yours so you can't see. And if anybody's going back there, then they are not invited back to my house.
That's right. For you. No, that's how I feel. It got to be kind of silly how everyone was saying, oh, you know, you shouldn't have any tails here, tails there, do this or that. I just can't be bothered with that. The final product is your visual, not all the other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what
I think the only time when I talk about rules to people or like new hookers, it's like there's a function to a lot of the idea, like
absolutely
the history. So yeah, it makes sense. If you're putting it on the floor, you want it to last for generations because people are watching, then those rules might make sense for some of them.
I think you absolutely have to learn the rules.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like when you're learning to drive a car, you have to learn the rules. But
yeah, please.
Please. But then you can break them a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you use that as an example because I usually say, you know, we're not like when I'm teaching or something, like we're not brain surgeons. So if we do something crazy, well, we're not hurting anybody.
Yeah.
And same with driving. I always say, like, please, when when you're in the car driving, follow the rules in that case. But in rug hooking, you're not, again, not going to hurt anybody. I'm not sure I want to drive with you, Kay.
No, no, I'm just kidding about rules. I couldn't think of something else with rules that you could break.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think teaching new hookers to be comfortable doing their own thing, you know, regardless of what the rules might say, is a very important.
But you really do have to learn the rules before you can break them.
Do you have a favorite fabric, like foundation cloth, material, or tool that if you couldn't use this, your hooking would not be as happy or you would not be as happy?
I've tried different. I find rug warp my favorite. It's a little stretchy, but it's nice and soft on my hands. And I found linen can be a little stiff, a little hard on my hands. I guess there's kind of linen you could get that isn't like that, but it's expensive, and you know, it's expensive enough rug hooking.
Yeah.
I just can't add any more. So rug warp is inexpensive, and I also like Pharrell. I use Pharrell a lot for backgrounds. I have different colored Pharrell, so I can hook onto it and not have to hook a background.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah.
I have never seen Pharrell until I sat beside you at Guild one time and you had a colored Pharrell backing. Yeah, so it's new to me and it might be new to some people watching. Where do you get your Pharrell?
Well, I don't think they're manufacturing it anymore. Yeah. It used to be that stuff they put on these separate walls that separated desks in offices. You know,
the cubicle world.
Yeah. And I've got a lot of Pharrell over the years that I have stored away, but I'm not sure whether Barb Lucas has some. I really don't know who has Pharrell. I have Pharrell enough for my life.
Right. You're not selling it, is what you're saying.
Well, I would give it away if somebody wanted some, but I have some different colors, and it's kind of neat if you have, like I'm thinking of that birch tree, you know, and that I've got a green tweedy kind of Pharrell, and putting the birch tree on that Pharrell would be kind of neat.
That would be neat. Oh.
Yeah. And I've tried monk's cloth. I don't like it much at all. I guess if I was punching, I would use that. So I stick to rug warp, and I've got a hook. I really have to move off this hook. I've had it for years, and well, right from the beginning. And it's a, what do you call it? Pencil hook.
Yep.
It's fine. And it's really difficult to use if you're using a puffy yarn or something. It doesn't pick the whole thing up. So I really have to, you know, go out and buy a medium or what, a coarse maybe, to do some of that kind of hooking.
So you have one hook?
One hook. Yep. And I use it for everything, no matter the width of, you know, But yeah, Pharrell and rug warp and a pencil hook. That's about it.
And also, you don't hook with wool strips, though.
No, I mean I've done a few things with the wool strips. But I find it not my cup of tea. You know, when you're used to something, you can. But I've started using all kinds of. They're not wool strips, but they're taffeta or satin or you know in strips.
Yeah.
And I'm broadening my horizons that way by using silk and all kinds of other things, not just braids and little yarn.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I learned only with yarn too. And it was a few years into hooking that I even did a rug with more than a random wool strip here and there.
Yeah.
So I don't have a stash of wool fabric. I have a stash of yarn and some bits of wool, but yeah, it's relatively new for me.
Well, I have strips of wool fabric that I would win at something, you know, and there's a bag of wool strips and I don't know what to do with them. But it was nice that I won them.
And you never know when you'll need that color for something.
That's right. Yeah.
Can you describe what rug hooking does for you? Like, why do you keep doing it? What is it about it? Can you articulate that for us? Or
well, over the years, with any art form, it has given you a feel of accomplishment when you've completed something. But with rug hooking, it has given me confidence that I never had before because I was never any good at anything except wood carving. I was pretty good at that. But everything else, I felt so awful afterwards thinking that's not good enough, you know. Yeah. But with most of my work, I feel really confident when it's finished, and I feel like it's an accomplishment and the pleasure of doing it. I was just sitting in there fixing something that had pulled out, and I'd already put it in the frame and everything, and somehow it pulled out. So we had to take it off the frame and fix it. But even that I felt good about, you know, it's something you could fix. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just, I don't know, it's, but also one of the main things I think about rug hooking are the groups of people. Mm-hmm. I have moved in, you know, all over the place and arriving in a city where you know no one. And you just find the first group, like Old Forge in Ottawa, and away you go. You meet people through them and you join other groups, Burt, Rapids and Almont. I belonged to all three. And the people were just wonderful. Mm-hmm. And every time you go to one of, you know, their meetings, it's inspiring. You know, I always walk around and look at everybody's work and I go, wow, look at what they're doing. So you get inspired from the people, by the people's work. Mm-hmm. At least I do.
Oh yeah, me too.
Makes me feel, you know, isn't that wonderful? I'm going to try that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know, I guess the confidence and accomplishment and the mere pleasure of sitting and doing it, but I guess we all feel the same about it. When you're finished with a piece, you look at it and think, did I do that?
I know, I have that little voice too, like, oh, I did that.
Yeah, I did that.
And yet in the middle, do you have that point in the middle of a project where you think this is garbage? This is never going to be.
Yeah, I'm working on one right now that I'm going through that. And I keep telling myself, wait, wait, you know, just don't get upset. Don't make any changes. Just keep on going. And then, you know, when it's finished, you'll see whether you Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it's a shock to me every time it happens. Like when I start feeling that way, it's like, oh, I've never had this feeling before. And yet I know I've had it every piece, I think.
Exactly.
I don't think, sometimes it's brief and other times it's a long period.
Yeah. Well, when someone gave me this piece and asked me to hook it, that's different.
Yeah.
Because she gave me a list of all the different, every shading, there's, 4 or 5 different shades of one thing. Well, I don't have all that stuff available, so I'm doing it my way, and I don't know how that's going to work. It'll be fun.
Yeah. I imagine it's different when you're doing a piece for somebody specific who has specific ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
You just kind of hope that they like it at the end. Wow. So I will bring up the photo that you shared with me. I do ask all my guests to share one picture, which I know is really hard. Everybody struggles with picking one, but thank you for this one. What can you tell us about it? It's so full of things that you're like, oh my goodness, where do I start? But I'm sure there are stories.
I decided to do a life map, right? And I went through all these old photo albums and stuff, and I found pictures of, anyway. And I took it to Jane Steele at River House and asked her if she could, help me with the layout and everything. Well, she was a riot. We rolled out the rug warp on the floor of her shop, and we both got down on our hands and knees, and she started drawing just freehand from the pictures. I couldn't believe it. Just watched her in admiration. And so I guess you can't tell, but there's a white house with a tree up to, there. Yep. And that's where I was born and raised. And then I went to school in this middle one.
Yep.
The brick thing. Yeah, that's grade 1 to 9.
And where was that, Kay? Where were you born?
Edmonton. Well, actually over here, you'll see a granary.
Yep.
That's where I was born, in Daysland, Alberta. And then when I was a baby, we moved to that house. And I lived in a tent a lot. I was sort of the hippie, back in the 60s. And I lived in a tent on Salt Spring Island and Pender Island. And it was interesting.
I imagine.
And I had dogs and cats with me living in the tent. And then I got married, my first husband and I, and we had the sailboat. And but I worked for the CBC a lot around the 60s and 70s. So and music has been part of my life always. So I've got, the treble and clef and some notes and stuff. And I play guitar. Well, I sing and sort of strum. And this is my Jacques, my poodle. And this is my border collie, Bella. She lived to 15 and Jacques lived 14. This represents all my cats. I've had hundreds of cats. And I moved to Hollywood at one time and lived there and worked. And then after my divorce, I bought 20 acres of land up in Vancouver Island. And I built this yellow house. It's a cottage, actually. And I got it was a gravel pit, but I planted an orchard and a huge garden, and I had chickens, you'll see up here.
Yeah.
And and in my first marriage, I had a goat. But I then, once I got all the fruit and veggies and everything going, I built my Kmart.
Oh.
And I had a kiosk inside, like you drive in the driveway, and I had a kiosk, and I sold all my stuff, and I delivered my eggs to all the people in the area. But I was working full time as well. I was doing all this. And then I met my second husband. We got married, and what did we? Oh, and then I couldn't get everything in there.
Yeah, you had to shortcut.
We ended up here in Ottawa, but I've traveled to all these countries, and actually forgot a few that I missed, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, you'll need to do another rug, because obviously this is for one period, but your life is still going. So you might need a sequel.
I think so. Anyway, it was fun doing it, and it's pretty big, and I don't know if you can see my cat sleeping on it.
Yeah. It is pretty big. And now, how long would a rug this size take you?
A long time. I sort of worked on a section.
Yeah.
As like it was one mat, that section. And then I'd move it, and I just had it in this round hoop, not on a big.
Yep.
It got heavier and heavier. But actually, looking at it from here, it looks pretty good.
It's gorgeous. Yeah, it is. It is gorgeous.
And you see the hook down here with this yarn going through it. Anyway, that was fun.
Well, I never do this, but I have to for you. I pulled up the other photo you shared. Oh. Because I saw this in person too, and it is so magnificent. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, it's my mother in the middle, in the white dress, and her 4 brothers standing, and her mom and dad are sitting in chairs. So that's my grandparents sitting in the chairs.
Amazing.
So I'm in my late 80s, so you can imagine how old this is. And I hooked that from an old photograph, and a friend, Lynn Denny, she found the frame when she was in New Brunswick or somewhere, I think. So it was just perfect for that kind of hooking. And I just made sure that it fitted the frame.
It is amazing.
There's so many things I do differently if I was to do that again, but it was fun.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's normal, that when you look back at things you did a few years ago, but it's gorgeous.
But I can see my uncles there. It's really funny.
Yeah. Well, your faces are just amazing considering it's small, that's not that big of a piece. And you only have, how many loops of yarn in each face. It's
it was amazing. Fun doing that.
Well, thank you so much, Kay. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us. And I hope someday we get to hook again side by side, and that would be fun. I want to come to Newfoundland.
I'd like to go to rug school. You're teaching there, aren't you?
I am teaching in Nova Scotia in May.
In May.
Yep. In May.
Well, good luck. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
You're just moving ahead, aren't you?
Well, I haven't traveled as much as you, so I'm trying to catch up. I got places to go.
Yeah. No. Thanks for thinking of me and inviting me to do this, Robin. It was a real pleasure.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. Absolutely. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. And if you're interested in being interviewed on Rugspiration, just send me a message or an email and we can make arrangements, because I'd love to hear from rug hookers from all over and all styles. Thanks for watching.
I have a few suggestions.
Oh, good. We'll talk. We will talk.
Okay.